All right, Ashura, Jeff, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. Power movie editing. Let's get to it right now.
Let's go. Wow.
Oh.
Varrock, it's time.
Those who defend Orgrimmar are Horde as well. Our brothers and sisters.
These warriors have sworn to fight. For you. Many lives will be lost.
Or perhaps just one. Sylvanas Windrunner! I challenge Mak'gora!
Wow.
A traitor leading traitors. Why should I accept your challenge?
You want to make me suffer.
Brother, you cannot win.
My old friend. You and I.
We don't get to hide.
I set you on this path.
And we knew where it could lead. Walk with me. The rest of the way.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Let it be finished.
The High Overlord falls. I trusted you. And so did they. Death comes, old soldier. And all their hope dies with you.
You cannot kill hope.
Oh.
You tried at Teldrassil. You failed. Hope remains. You set us to kill each other at Lordaeron. You failed. Here we stand. You just keep failing. The Horde will endure. The Horde is strong.
Oh.
The Horde is nothing! You are all nothing!
Huh?
For Azeroth!
Fuck?
If you could see yourselves as I see you. Toy soldiers in tin plate. Beasts who howl for honor, standing as one. Savor it. Nothing lasts.
That was nice and dramatic.
What do we do now?
We bring him home.
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. I mean, all spoilers considered, there's a lot to talk about here. Holy moly. We'll be right back with the magic of movie editing. So let's just dive right into it. I'm going to read a brief summary of what happens before this happens, both with the Rebellion questline and the Loyalist questline. I haven't done it myself yet, but I'm going to read out what happens just to kind of set up some context here. So for the Rebellion questline, the rebels gather at Razor Hill and prepare for an attack on Orgrimmar. Inside the building, Saurfang and Anduin lead. Illyria and Varisa show up to plead a case that Sylvanas is the best fighting force against N'Zoth, and is it so wise to attack her now? Both say yes. Anduin also states that Tyrande is missing since Darkshore's transformation and is totally consumed by vengeance. So some little tidbits of lore there. Why is she not around? Well, there's your answer. Sylvanas has formed rockfall obstructions, and Tinkmaster Overspark and Gazlo use newfound technology to clear all the obstacles. The army gathers outside the gates. Alliance and Gen took the west side of Orgrimmar, while the elves took Ajara, the zone, and they rout out the Loyalists and sabotaging their siege weaponry before making their attack. Inside the city for the Loyalists, Sylvanas calls the hero to Orgrimmar. After displaying the report of Saurfang's attack, she orders them to get to work on organizing the defenses. First to meet with the Magar and Gaiara at the front gates. Gaiara is siding with Sylvanas here, where they stand ready to crush the traitors in the name of the Horde. The cowardly traitors show their faces at last. I shall enjoy removing their heads from their necks. That's what Gaiara says. Onwards to Gallywix, who, as you find him, he's panicking and burning files, presumably trying to burn all evidence of him working with Sylvanas, and claims he's too busy. Gallywix says that he has mechs for her, but they're expensive and she better be ready to pay up. Sylvanas sends you to deal with Eitrig, as she knows his allegiances are with her, and sends you to deliver him to Nathanos. You do have the option. He actually asks you if you want to join him outside the gates of Orgrimmar, in which case you get to declare your loyalty for Sylvanas. You can also tell him you need to leave the city. Not sure what happens in that case. But anyway, you beat him up and you take him to Nathanos in chains. Following up, you go around placing crates under siege weapons outside, taking down flyers of propaganda against Sylvanas, wanted signs that say wanted another war chief or war criminal, and then finally the rallying of the people for the battle for their war chief. This is when the cinematic kicks in. And right away you notice it's like the good old-fashioned Orgrimmar city music. That iconic sound as they're walking up. Saurfang, Thrall, and Anduin. Can we just appreciate for a single moment HD Orgrimmar in its full HD glory? Good God, there's a full army here of orcs and trolls and footmen and stuff, but just seeing Orgrimmar in the flesh, kind of like how we saw Lordaeron in the flesh, or the Stormwind Harbor, man, just Blizzard, just make your own Warcraft movie. God, don't get it outside. Look what you guys can do. God, this is amazing. Just this scene alone just kind of sent chills down my spine. Army's approaching, and Saurfang's like looking up at the battlements. He's looking around, and I thought when I watched this the second or third time, what really hit me is Saurfang has been here before. Thrall has too. This is the Siege of Orgrimmar all over again. And before anyone comments, Miss Pandaria repeat. No, shut up. Listen, it has to be different this time. Saurfang has sided against a war chief before. This is the second time that Saurfang has betrayed the Horde. Betrayed the Horde's war chief, I should say. And here he is once again. This time, he wasn't present at the front gates of Orgrimmar during Garrosh's reign. He was helping Thrall down to the Underhold. But he's been here before in this situation, but he's also looking like, man, this is my city. And there's just this look, he's looking around the battlements. And there's Thrall in the background just staring at the city as well.
Varrock, it's time.
Varrock, it's time. Curious how, or it's very obvious why it's not just Horde flags they're focusing on. It's the Sylvanas loyalist flags as well. All of the Horde on the battlements are Forsaken. We're meant to be looking at the flag specifically, not the models of who's there. It's meant to be there's Sylvanas flags and there's Horde flags, which goes in line with what Saurfang says here next.
Those who defend Orgrimmar are Horde as well. Our brothers and sisters.
Those who defend Orgrimmar are Horde as well, our brothers and sisters. Again, this all led me back to the Siege of Orgrimmar, where, several orcs like Nazgrim, not all the orcs who sided with Garrosh were evil and twisted. Many of the orcs did side with Garrosh, Nazgrim being one of them. It's a matter of, loyalty to your war chief or to the Horde, and this is kind of, I felt a lot of nostalgia for Miss Pandaria and for Siege of Orgrimmar, which is one of my favorite raids of all time here.
These warriors have sworn to fight.
These warriors have sworn to fight for you.
Many lives will be lost.
And it's here that Saurfang realizes that it doesn't need to be the Siege of Orgrimmar 2.0. It doesn't need to be a loss of all this senseless death to the both factions. And here Saurfang, his inner orc kicks in. This is where Cairn's mentality came from, right? You're going to have a problem with the leader of the Horde. You challenge the leader of the Horde. And this is where he's going to do things properly. Garrosh, this just should have had the Siege of Orgrimmar. Could have been Vol'jin, or someone could have challenged Garrosh in front of everyone. And Garrosh's pride would have got to him. It would have been such a totally different outcome. But here, now, in front of everyone, Saurfang is going to challenge Sylvanas to Mak'gora. Before we get to the Mak'gora part, let's talk about the cinematic callbacks here. And I know Ishura is excited to talk about these right now, so we won't go through them all. We'll just go through the first couple, and then we'll come back to the ones later on.
Honestly, I was so dumb and did not realize that this cinematic was 100% a callback to the Wrathgate. But wow, now that people have pointed that out, it makes a lot of sense. But I'm going to let you cover it because the Wrathgate is your thing.
Fair enough. In the background here, we see Saurfang just screaming up at Sylvanas, "I challenge you to Mak'gora," and obviously throwback to Bolvar Fordragon at the Wrathgate, right?
Arthas! The blood of your father, of your people, demands justice! Come forth, coward, and answer for your crimes!
He calls down Arthas to answer for your crimes. And then there's the big dramatic door open. The angle in which she walks out, the angle in which Arthas walks out. Like, it's almost beat for beat here. I'm surprised she didn't have like a really evil one-liner just as Arthas.
You speak of justice, of cowardice.
It's in this moment. I love how the camera starts blurry and she just walks into focus. She looks disgusted. We have a little exchange between them here. And what's interesting is the flag bearer in the background is not wielding the Horde flag.
So, to some extent, that makes sense because it's Sylvanas, it would be her symbol. But the thing is, she's the war chief of the Horde, and the Horde comes before all else, so it should be the symbol of the Horde. So I think that that's kind of a hint. Not that she's given up the pretense or anything, but that she puts herself above all else. And the Horde, as we find out later, doesn't really matter. But right in this moment, after you see the flag and she comes out, it focuses. So it focuses on her hand, and at first that doesn't seem like anything too out of the usual because we've seen her use this kind of magic before, like this shadowy magic, banshee magic, and I won't go too much into it. But at first, I thought, okay, it's purple and it's shadowy, so I wonder if it's supposed to evoke N'Zoth, because in the previous cinematics, we've seen N'Zoth materialize as this shadowy thing, and the void is purple. And just super quickly, at the end of this quest chain, I believe, although I myself have not played through it, Jaina, Lor'themar, and Thalyssra have a conversation, and Jaina says, she asks Lor'themar, what manner of magic did Sylvanas use against Saurfang? And Lor'themar says, basically, I have no idea. And Thalyssra also says, I have no idea. So it seems that it may not be her normal banshee magic, or it could just be. I mean, she's hitting some hard hits, and she does not look like she's sweating. So it could be less what kind of magic, and wow, how did she get so powerful?
We'll come to that once we've gone through the Mak'gora here. We talked about how the emphasis is on not so much Sylvanas's horde, but rather Sylvanas's standard in the background. There's that line from Saurfang. She says, "Why should I accept your challenge? You want to make me suffer." And she smirks. Like there's a hint of a smirk there. Like she's just like, you know what? You're right. I do. That's all it took for her to agree. Like, why should I listen to your challenge? And he's like, you really just want to hurt me and make me suffer. She's like, yeah, you know what? 100%. I'm down. Let's do it in front of everyone. And she prepares her weapons. The little creak of the glove, by the way, the sound design on here, I'm gonna forget if I don't talk about it now. The sound design on everything in this cinematic and all the cinematics, but specifically this one is amazing. I loved the little creak of the leather glove there as she waves Banner Bay forward, and she prepares her iconic weapons. By the way, we've never seen Sylvanas have like iconic melee weapons. She's always had like these really ugly vanilla weapons from Deadmines. She's never actually been given like really good, cool looking Forsaken swords. So it's kind of cool to see some like really nice blades in the cinematic, and I was surprised she didn't use her bow and arrow, but I guess, is that allowed in a Mak'gora? What is allowed in a Mak'gora? And then we have
almost like I mean, this struck me the first time, and I don't know if I agree so much watching it again, but it's almost like she came prepared. Like, if you were going into full battle, I don't know if you'd have your flag bearer come out with like your pair of daggers to accompany you. It seems very purposefully set up, like she could have guessed this would happen.
I mean, he did call out the challenge, so I guess. But you're right. She came out prepared to fight. Like she came out with the comment like, "Why should I accept your challenge?" But she was ready to do it. She didn't really need an answer, and that's why he's like, "To make me suffer." She's like, "All right, good enough." You know, there was no wrong answer to your question. Congratulations, you win the consolation prize, Saurfang. A fight, and then we have Saurfang and Thrall talking here, and Thrall hands him his axe, which I thought was really cool. I'm like, you know what? Saurfang's not going to use his boring NPC axe. He's actually going to use Thrall's weapon here. And Thrall says,
You cannot win.
and at first, kind of wonder if there's a little bit of a throwback here to Thrall recalling his Mak'gora against Garrosh, and how even though he won, it's haunted him. It's sort of this Thrall as war chief or former war chief at the time has been through a Mak'gora with the current war chief of the Horde, and it didn't end in the way that he wanted. You know, Thrall is where he was because of the haunted memory of that. And although it's very subtle, I kind of wonder if that was meant, that line, "Brother, you cannot win." The sort of hesitation from Thrall was meant to kind of invoke that subtle little callback. Some people might disagree, but I instantly thought of that. And then there's a throwback to the Thrall and Saurfang cinematic in Nagrand here, where he says, "We don't get to hide."
You and I.
Saurfang finishes. Thrall finishes the sentence.
Get to hide.
Saurfang smiling, so pure. And then Anduin comes in. Anduin comes in with the line, you know, "I'm the one who set you free. I'm the one who led you down this path." And he gives Thrall Charlemagne. He gives Saurfang Charlemagne, and that I did not see coming. Really nice to think back to Saurfang Senior and Varian back in Wrath of the Lich King and Icecrown, when Varian lets him take Dranosh's body away. I don't know, just seeing Saurfang wielding the sword of Varian Rin in this moment against Sylvanas Windrunner. There's so many callbacks to some older moments in the lore that when he handed over Charlemagne, I thought, man, like I never would have expected to see Saurfang dual wielding Charlemagne and Thrall's weapon in a Mak'gora cinematic. Saurfang has changed specs, by the way. Or I guess he still is arms. He's now just dual wielding. Man, one-handed arms, that's the way to go. And we have here the fight starts right away. And Zappy Boy comes running up. The poor child gets stopped.
Sweet baby boy.
They're dueling outside of Orgrimmar like everyone else, like every other Horde player. That just clued into me now. And for the record, although it's not shown here, off camera, you can imagine all the Dark Irons from the Brewfest event in the giant mole machines watching this go down. They're like, you know what? Let's not trash the brew grounds yet. Let's wait till this fight. That's kind of mean if we trash it now. So that's canon. They're off watching off to the side. That's not true. I just made that up. Sorry. Go ahead, Ishura. You wanted to say something much more important than that.
I love how this fight begins. He comes in swinging. He has a running start. She takes 2 steps. She's like under deflects and smiles. And it's just crazy to me how much effort he's putting in with like 2 two-handed weapons, and she's there blocking with what, 1 hand, and just casually like, this is why you put all your points in like dexterity and stuff, right?
How strong is her daggers? Like, she disarms him from Thrall's weapon in the first swing there.
And then she just wrecks him. It broke my heart watching this, but and this is where I talk about the magic again. Like, what is that? What is the effect on the dagger? Is this her banshee magic? Is that poison? And his wounds, the cut kind of, I guess not glow. Glow is totally the wrong word, but
Smokes.
Yes, smoke. That is the word. And I guess that moment kind of reminded me of the OG Mak'gora with the poison and Garrosh. I think that's what it evoked for me.
Oh, interesting. Garrosh and Karen, I never thought of that. In this moment right here, as she's kneeling next to him, look at the absolute frustration and rage in her face when she says, the cinematics team has always been good at giving emotion to orcs, giving emotion to everyone, but specifically, how do you give an emotion to someone with a really thick brow and a massive bottom jaw? Like, I remember when the Warcraft movie was out, the actors who played the orcs actually had to take orc school because they had to learn how to talk and walk like an orc, because how do you talk with a mouthful of teeth? I'm totally derailing here. So they've always been good at that, but look at how much emotion and rage is in Sylvanas' face when she says, "I trusted you," right here.
I trusted you.
There is clenched teeth. It's a very soft comment. she could have killed him right here and then, but she just comes in very, very gently.
The High Overlord falls. I trusted you.
And to me, like when I watched that, I don't know if I actually did it while watching, but I kind of felt like the need to recoil a little bit, as if to go like, oh, like man, like she got really soft and dangerous in that moment. That line, "I trusted you," while Saurfang is gasping for breath and panting for his life in this moment. I don't know. That just stood out as very, very scary, spoopy Sylvanas. And she wasn't even in Banshee form. She was just mad. We have Saurfang looking up at Zappy Boy and Thrall. Thrall with his hand on Zappy Boy's shoulders. Zappy Boy is literally cowering, like watching his dad, essentially, his mentor, bleed out. And Thrall is this was an orcish duel, and Thrall can just do nothing but sit back and watch. He's not allowed to interfere. And you can see the exhaustion on Saurfang's face. Again, there's so much emotion here in these models. And his resolve comes back to him as he looks to Zappy Boy. Zakan gives him that pleading look.
You cannot kill hope.
There's that line. You cannot kill hope. Exactly mirroring how this whole expansion started with Dalaran Summermoon. You cannot kill hope. And Sylvanas says, can't I? But now it's got a victorious moment here. And I really just want to talk about this aggressive speech, because everything he says, every word is hit with another look. And as he stands and rises here, pushes himself up, there's the sun in the background glowing. Like hope is imminent right now.
You
Tried at Teldrassil.
You
Failed.
Hope remains.
Hope remains.
You set us to kill each other.
Set us to kill each other at Lordaeron. Failed.
Here we stand.
Like it's just one after.
Just keep failing. The Horde will endure.
Like I'm getting chills thinking about this. Like we're just watching this right here. We get the epic Charlemagne moment. We're gonna back up to Charlemagne for a second here. Right as the weapon splits. Charlemagne's always had two different colors when it's in two different pieces, and I'm just really happy that made it in. Just seeing for briefly the amber and the sapphire emerald look on the two swords there. I thought that was a really nice subtle touch. And then Saurfang gets that last swipe in across Sylvana. Not a heavy hit, but it's almost Saurfang's killing blow against Sylvanas. This is the blow that he wanted, because right in this moment,
The Horde is nothing.
the Horde is nothing. And as she says it, she's almost like imagine if you had, I don't know, not hot water, but like you got sand or something thrown in your eye, like a piece of glass went near your eye, and you were like very gingerly touching her eye. Like I noticed how delicate she's touching her eye and just how angry she is. And this is where she makes her mistake. This is where she reveals her full hand. This is Saurfang's killing blow right here.
The Horde is
To go back a second, a teensy bit of a second,
Go back.
that same shadowy stuff leaks from her, and I think that might be more her than it is like the magic she's using or whatever, because she's a banshee. Like we see her in this cinematic and in previous cinematics just kind of poof into banshee form. But it's interesting, she doesn't like bleed because she's undead, but the cut itself kind of glows. But to bring it back to this moment of the Horde is nothing, I've seen some people like, did she lose her temper? Was this all planned? And I think watching this just now, it has to piss her off hearing you cannot kill hope again. Like when Dalaran said that to her, whether or not she decided she wanted to burn Teldrassil beforehand or if it was in that moment, like hearing that again, someone else say that, she's like, "Man, I burnt down Teldrassil because I wanted to do that," and then someone else comes back and is still like, "You can't kill Hope." That has got to make her so mad. So I'm not even surprised this moment happens.
I never thought of that, how many times it's been said to her. She's probably really sick of the word hope. She probably has like a dartboard with the word hope on it that she just fires her arrows, sets it on fire or something. And this moment when Banner Bay or Flaggy Girl or Becky, as some are calling her, where she looks over and has the wait what moment. Just watch her eyes. Like the Forsaken don't have a lot of emotion in their eyes because they're dead. But look at the lich light in her eyes as she looks over.
The Horde is nothing.
There's a that look says everything. And Sylvanas realized. Sylvanas looks over and seeing so little said in this moment, but so much just came crashing down all at once. Sylvanas' true nature, everything Sylvanas has been. Anyone who's watched the Lost Codex or the podcast or stuff and heard me talk about Sylvanas, you know that I'm very passionate about Sylvanas. I have a lot of thoughts on Sylvanas. I love Sylvanas as a character, but I have never for once said that she is a good leader of the Horde. Her character's amazing, and it's in this moment that she reveals that right here. I'm not going to say, like, I was right, because it's been there since the very beginning. You know, all of her little subtle quest lines and before the storm, everything has been building to this. Sylvanas doesn't care for the Horde. She doesn't even care for the Forsaken. It's in this moment that it all comes just falling out. She realizes that she said it. She looks around. She's got a full audience. Saurfang's entire purpose. So might as well just let it all out.
Are all nothing.
And it's that moment that the victory music starts to play. Saurfang has now won. This is what he wanted. And then she instantly kills him. And just to tie in the full Wrathgate bit, before Saurfang and Sylvanas fight, right before they fight,
Let it be finished.
let it be finished, which is Dranosh's last words.
Let it be finished!
When he charges the Lich King, and then they both get instant one-shot killed in a big, not so heroic, but heroic death moment. Again, there's so much here from the Wrathgate that just gets so easily called back that it sends chills down your spine when you really think about how much of it is really a callback here.
So I don't know if it's too far-fetched of a connection, but when we see Saurfang, especially later when they pick him up, the magic Sylvanas used on him, okay, it killed him, but like kind of visibly affected him. Like he's a bit like gray or purple, like just has a certain look to him aside from dead. And I just called back to Rastakhan a bit, when he's dying and like aging, rotting as he dies. And I don't know if it's intentional or just kind of a sweet little thing, but amidst all the theories of death magic and not knowing what Sylvanas just used to kill Saurfang, maybe there's something of note there. Maybe it's just a cool thing.
Definitely seeing that like reminiscent magic on his body there. Same with as Rastakhan's skin was like cracking from one Somdi's magic. Definitely a nice parallel there. We have Sylvanas' like little victory speech after, and like the whole arms up, are you not entertained kind of stance. Toy soldiers in plate.
Beast
Beasts who howl for honor. So she just basically summarizes the Alliance and the Horde. Again, like she's had no loyalty to the Horde. She's had the Horde has been an alliance, an alliance of convenience for the longest time, and she's fought alongside the Horde. She's fought for the Horde, but again, thinking that she has any true love, any true support for what the Horde really is as a group of survivors, as a group of races banding together, fighting for survival and trying to be honorable and stuff like that. She's never stood for that, and she calls it out here. She calls them a bunch of beasts howling for honor as she taunts them with her spooky gray vape. We get it, you vape, Sylvanas. And then nothing lasts, and then she just flies off into the sunset, as most villains do. And then we have the terribly sad Zakan. He doesn't know what to do. Just struggles as he touches the necklace, pushes his hand to his chest.
We bring him home.
And I thought this moment right here, when Anduin, Zakan, and Thrall all pick up Saurfang. And here, this moment kind of caught my breath, where Thrall has the stare down with Banner Bay, with Flaggy Girl. And I thought, oh god, like what is she gonna do? Like her queen just team rocketed off into the sunset. Like what is she gonna do in this moment? And to be honest, it's such a subtle moment, but I did not expect this to be the answer. And this is a really nice callback to what the Forsaken really should be about, who the Forsaken are, and who they can be, especially from Before the Storm. Not all Forsaken are homicidal, insane, death to the living putresses. And we see that here. There's this really tense moment where they just stare each other down, and the music ends.
And it's the Forsaken who start the what people on Twitter have begun calling the ting ting or the cling cling. And that's so powerful, because Sylvanas is their racial leader, and then she's just like, JK, y'all are nothing, and then, peace out. So I think when we were going over notes for this, sorry, I was talking about how it calls back to Before the Storm, when you start to have this idea that there are some Forsaken who don't really care too deeply for Sylvanas, or that not everyone who follows her is, a total loyalist. And there's some dialogue that happens. There's a lot of dialogue, actually, that happens after these cinematics, which is super interesting, but there are some Forsaken refugees, oh my god, they're called refugees. They have a conversation, how could Sylvanas abandon us like this? She's never been loyal to the Horde. And they're like, no, not the Horde, us, the Forsaken, like, we're her people. The Forsaken have been her people for, years. And she doesn't care.
What's important here in this exchange is it's two Forsaken talking to each other. Forsaken refugee number one, Forsaken refugee number two. How could Sylvanas abandon us like this? And then the other one, who's bitter and angry, she's never been loyal to the Horde. The other one says, no, not the Horde, us, the Forsaken. We're her people. To which the other one replies, not anymore. Like, it's not an orc. It's not like a grumpy old orc or a Tauren or a goblin saying this. It's two Forsaken saying this. And that is huge for this public. When the Siege of Lordaeron happened, there was some of the bonus dialogue where you could tell the Forsaken were a bit confused. Like, where are we going to live now? And there was some question, right? We saw the Forsaken questioning Sylvanas and Before the Storm. We saw that some of them were just, sure, they hated the Alliance for shunning them and turning them away, but they also weren't all in favor of the horrible things that the Forsaken were doing, and you could tell that they just wanted to be. They just wanted to be accepted. They just wanted to be people. And now it's right in Orgrimmar. The Forsaken refugees are just speaking out with these public dialogue conversations. There's another one that they say, an Orgrimmar grunt says, "You must be saddened to see Sylvanas leave." And a Forsaken refugee says, "Why? Because I'm Forsaken? Did you shed tears for Garrosh because you're an orc?" The correct answer is yes, by the way. The correct answer is yes. But the answer that the Orgrimmar grunt says in the game is, "No, I shed tears because you brought shame to us all." And I think that having these conversations between Forsaken and Orgrimmar grunts, these little tidbits and moments in lore, for those of you who've done this full quest chain, run around Orgrimmar. Orgrimmar's completely changed now. There's so many little dialogue NPCs. There's Sylvanas loyalists that are being arrested and slapped in chains. There's a lot going on that we didn't see post Siege of Orgrimmar, and I would have loved to see all of this stuff post Siege of Orgrimmar. But it's really nice to see in game now. There's a lot of conversations going on, because so much happens in this cinematic. So many callbacks, so many moments in lore. You know, the way it just ends on Thrall. Like, oh my god, this is 6 minutes of pure CGI bliss. Good god. Ishura, do we have any closing comments about this?
So when sweet baby boy Zakan does the moment where he puts his hand on Saurfang's chest and he's like, "What do we do now?" Holy crap, that's the same exact thing he says to Saurfang. And, you know, the cinematic prior to this, right before Saurfang is like, "We are breaking the cycle of hatred." And wow, what a moment to make you realize that sweet baby boy Zakan is just putting all of his hope in Saurfang, and he expects Saurfang to be able to do it. And when Saurfang dies, it's like, what do we do?
And it's Thrall who says, "We bring him home." And we'll be covering Saurfang's vigil and the post-loyalist storyline together in the next video, which will be coming out a little while after this one. And with that, we're gonna bring it to a close. We're gonna cover Saurfang's vigil and the loyalist Sylvanas cutscene or in-game dialogue in the next video. That's gonna come out a little while after this. But 6 minutes of just pure CGI. We really have been spoiled this expansion. If you think about it, if you think about how often we got a CGI cinematic for World of Warcraft, it was once every 2 years, right? For expansion trailers. And then that started to change. Battle for Azeroth gets announced, and we get the Battle for Azeroth cinematic the same year. J. Allen Brack said on stage, "Usually you guys have to wait 6 months, but here it is right then and today." I thought, wow, like they did this fast. And then suddenly we get Old Soldier. You know, we had Old Soldier, we had that. All these ones start coming out. So we've been really spoiled this expansion with these CGI cinematics. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something of that caliber in a few weeks at a certain big event, BlizzCon 2019. I'm just saying, we don't know. The big question after all this is, sorry, I hit the mic there. What's next? Zappy Boy's right. What do we do now? What do we do now? What's the next content coming out? What's 8.3? What the hell's coming next? We have no idea. And that is insane. That is, at least when Illidan was a dick and opened the sky and we saw Argus in the sky, we knew where we were going. That was obvious, right? What the hell is going to happen now? It's not obvious at all. And I absolutely love that. So we'll be back, obviously, to talk about stuff when more stuff gets data mined and cinematics come out. We'll be here. Ishura will be here to talk with me about it. But until then, Ishura, thank you for joining me. And we will reconvene to talk about the Saurfang visual and the Loyalist questline and all the fun stuff with that. Until next time, guys, thank you very much.